Okay, last page. So number 16 gives me the position equation for this moving particle. So here's my position. They want to know what the velocity is at 1 second. So t equals 1. That's my time is 1 second. And they want to know the velocity. Well, the velocity is a first derivative. So velocity is first derivative, acceleration is your second derivative. So if they ask you for those, that's what they're talking about. So first derivative of this one. So the first derivative of s of t, which is really v of t, so I'm going to call it v of t now, is, this would be negative 32t plus 64 plus nothing, plus 0. So that means I don't have to simplify anything. So I'm just going to plug in my 1 when t is 1. So negative 32 times 1 plus 64, which is 32. And this is a rate. Velocity is a rate. So we need a unit on there. And we're talking about, in this case, feet per second. Feet per second. Okay, actually, I'm going to go back for a second because over here, when I was talking about this, I said, oh, this was a mistake. I'm wrong. So this was talking about a rate also, right? A derivative or a rate. This should not be squared. This should just be feet per second. That is a rate. Feet per second, not feet squared per second. If it was feet squared per second, that's when you're talking about a second derivative. Sorry about that. Okay, so again, over here, this was 32 feet per second. That's all they asked for, was that velocity after 1 second. Okay, number 17, they want the derivative of this. So they want me to find, this is actually kind of tricky, they want me to find h prime of 3. So they're giving me g, so I need to find the derivative of g so that I get an h prime in there. So let's talk about that real quick. So g prime, or the derivative of g of x, would be low. This is a quotient rule. So low d high, don't need that parenthesis there. So this is h prime of x minus high d low f prime of x all over low squared. So I'm trying to solve for h prime of 3. So that's this one. So g prime of 3, if I plug 3 into all of these, g prime of 3 is 4, so this is 4 equals f prime, or f of 3 is 5 times, I don't know what h prime of 3 is. I should say 3 there. Minus h of 3 is 6. F prime of 3 is 1. All over f of 3 squared, so 5 squared. Okay, so then I'm going to take this over here and simplify it. So 4 equals h prime of 3 times 5. I shouldn't write it like that. I feel like that's going to confuse people. So let me go back. I'm going to write it as 5 times h prime of 3 minus 6 over 25. So I'm going to multiply both sides by 25. That gives me 100. And then I'm going to add 6. So that gives me 106. And then divide by 5. So I'm going to write that as, I think on the answer key I wrote it as 21.2. You could have written it as 106 over 5 and just left it. So h prime of 3 is 21.2 about, or you could have said 106 over 5. It's exactly 21.2, not about. Okay, number 18. This one is asking me to find h prime of 25. So this one's a little more straightforward. So h prime of x is, this one is a chain rule. So do your outside first, leave the inside alone, times the derivative of the inside. And then plug in your values. I'm doing 25 here. So h prime of 25 is going to give me f prime of g of 25, which is 3, times g prime of 25, which is 5. So then I need to figure out what's f prime of 3. It's 6. So I really have 6 times 5, which is 30. Number 19, they want me to find all of the critical numbers from the first derivative of this. So I'm going to do my first derivative, and then I'm going to set it equal to 0. So the first derivative is 3x squared minus 12. And then I need to set that equal to 0. So this would be 3x squared minus 12 equals 0. I'm going to write it out as 3 times x squared minus 4. And then if you factor x squared minus 4, that would be x plus 2, x minus 2. So 3 you don't have to worry about because there's no variable there. But these two, if you set those equal to 0, this one is going to come out negative 2, and this one is going to come out positive 2. So negative 2 and positive 2 are my two answers. Last one, they just want me to find the derivative. So f prime of x equals, this is a chain rule, so 5, 2x cubed plus 6 stays the same, and now it's an exponent of 4, times the derivative of the inside, which would be 6x squared. So I would write that as 30x